Hi, I'm Alex Barker. I work at the University of Derby, and I'm going to talk to you about the Kardashians, the reality TV program, and 818 Tequila branding within that program. So, we know that alcohol is a growing public health problem. It's associated with a lot of morbidity and mortality in the UK and around the world. And there are a lot of dependent drinkers in the UK. Many only a handful receiving treatment for this, and about a quarter of adults regularly drink over the recommended guidelines for alcohol in the UK. It's estimated to cost about 27.4 billion a year, but in profits it makes a lot more than that. And the industry as a whole is worth a lot of money. So despite this morbidity and mortality, they need to keep selling their products to maintain their profits. As older drinkers die, they need to recruit newer drinkers and maintain that those drinkers are drinking heavily throughout their lifespan. So we know that media affects people's behaviour through their attitudes and behaviours. So the message source and audience of a message shown in the media can persuade people to engage in certain behaviours and buy certain products. And we know that there's some social learning going on. So people viewing influential others on TV may indeed copy their behaviour over time. So there is strong causal evidence that exposure to alcohol imagery and commercial communications increases subsequent experimentation and use in adolescence. So it leads adolescents to experiment, and those who already drink continue to use in their adolescence. Alcohol marketing also affects adults as well. So those with or at an increased risk of an alcohol problem see the alcohol content and it acts as a cue to drink. And those people who may be in recovery from alcohol problems may suffer the same problems. So a lot of people watch TV. 27 million people own a TV in the UK, and on average they watch about 2 hours a day. TV viewing as a whole is declining, but video on demand watching is increasing as viewing habits change. And the alcohol industry knows this. And media can be used as a tool to recruit this next generation of drinkers and maintain high drinking amongst those adults who already do. So some programs are used more than others, and I've spent a long time kind of looking at reality TV and showing that these are often used to promote these products and these behaviours. Despite there being regulations in the UK, there may be gaps in the regulation where these are taken advantage of. So the Ofcom Broadcasting Code refers to protecting children from the misuse of alcohol. So alcohol content as itself isn't necessarily regulated, and alcohol content as part of the programme can be justified as part of editorial justification. Similarly, product placement is prohibited on broadcast TV, but you need to show that money has changed hands, so it's paid for product placement. But interestingly, it's not prohibited on video on demand content, which creates this kind of discrepancy between the two. A good example of reality TV being used for this is this bar made in Chelsea, where there are 14 bottles of Johnny Walker shown on a shelf, which seems a little bit bizarre for a public bar. It's almost as though it's owned by and promoting Johnny Walker whiskey. Recently we decided to look at the Kardashians because viewers were complaining that this was one big advert for their brands and commercial interests. Kendall Jenner owns the 818 Tequila alcohol brand and may have been using this program to promote her own product. So we looked at season 2 of the program, and we found that there was a lot of 818 content, and this was portrayed through bottles being shown, through it being talked about, through members of the Kardashian family wearing branding for 818 and promoting these products. And as you can see, this was seen a lot more than any other alcohol product within this program. So we took this to the regulator, and Ofcom found that through their own investigation, there was no product placement arrangement in place. In other words, no money had changed hands to feature that product in the programme, which makes sense because the Kardashian family owned that alcohol brand. They don't need to pay themselves, they were just promoting their product. So this has created a bit of a potential loophole in that Rule 14 doesn't apply if you're promoting your own products and no money has changed hands. Ofcom also said that people under the age of 18 will not normally see or hear it because it's locked behind an age rating system on Disney+. So we continued to look at the Kardashians, and we looked at season 4 to show that this inclusion of the product isn't just a one-off, and that the family are potentially promoting their own interests despite there being this gap in the regulation. So we looked at season 4, and we found that alcohol content over time is increasing between these ongoing seasons, and that the amount of 818 branding is increasing over time. So in total, 818 was seen or referred to 108 times across 2 seasons of the show. And you can imagine that's 20 episodes. So this is being talked about and seen quite a lot throughout these episodes. And it's portrayed in a positive light. So interestingly, in the UK, if you're promoting an alcohol product, you can't say that it increases your positive personal attributes, such as increasing confidence. But within this video on demand program, this is exactly what the Kardashians are doing. So they're saying that 818 gives you confidence and increases this. So what now? So we decided to obtain viewing figures for these seasons, and we combine these with occurrences and population estimates to estimate how much exposure this brand is receiving for inclusion in the program. We found that the inclusion of 818 branding within the program reached a large number of households with children under the age of 16, and resulted in 347 million 818 branded gross impressions to the UK through these 2 seasons. Now, interestingly, after season 4, 818 was released into the UK market, and what was seen was that sales rose by 150% within 12 days of launching in the UK. So it's quite obvious that this exposure through this product is increasing these sales of this product after it was launched. In conclusion, alcohol branding and content leads to experimentation and continued alcohol use, and it's a growing public health problem here in the UK. The Kardashians seem to be using their program to market their own brand and commercial interests. The regulator has said that no product placement deal is in place because no money has changed hands, but potentially this is a loophole which has been identified and needs closing to prevent this kind of brand exposure. It's not a one-off, this is continuing over time, and we are calling for the regulator to reevaluate this and bring in stricter regulation in line with the World Health Organization recommendations. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks.